Hey everybody, I'm Jordan with Warpfire Minis. In today's challenge game, we're going into Slaanesh. So for the mission, we ended up rolling No Risk Without Reward, which is the one where we're in these quadrants, and you can deploy all the way up to the line if you want to. And then I'll run you through his list. He's starting out, he's got 3 big boys. We've got Shalaxi. This over here is going to be Glutos today, and Synessa. Then 2 squads of 11 Blissbarbs, a squad of Blissbarb Seekers, a regular Chaos Chariot, and then this guy right here is going to be the Lord of Pain. That's the one that gives everybody +1 to hit, +1 to wound, which is great. And then a squad of 5 Hellstriders. They're just a fast mobile unit. Use them as a screen. Use them to go grab an objective. They don't do much damage. For threat assessment for me, all the shooting is going to be hard to deal with. It's going to continue to just pepper me and do damage consistently. But Glutos, he does good damage, and he's just incredibly durable. He's a piece when I go against him, I look at and just say, I'm probably not going to kill him. And so I'll try to avoid him where I can and just try to dedicate all my resources into everything else. Then he's got Shalaxi, which is going to be really good at killing stuff like my Plague Furnace or Screech. She's really good into heroes. And then we have Synessa, which is really good specifically into me. My grand strategy is to keep my heroes alive, and she can, in the shooting phase, just pick a unit within 18. I have to roll a dice, and if it's equal to or under my save, it just does flat 6 mortal wounds to me. So, like Plague Priest, that's just boom, 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 gone. The Grey Seers, same thing. So, that's a piece I'm going to try and take out before she can do all that to me. And then just the Blissbarb Seekers, they've got the ability where if they shoot you and do damage, then everything in the whole army gets an extra blip of rend against you. So that's just a good piece to amplify the damage for the rest of his army, along with the Lord of Pain giving everything +1 to hit and +1 to wound. They can do really, really consistent damage. But this is what deployment looked like. He ended up being a 2-drop army, so I just deployed Warp Grinder followed by Warp Grinder so I could see exactly what he was going to do. And so for me, counter-deploying it, we're so close to each other, it's a big deal if you get the first turn or not. The way he deployed with this person all the way out front led me to believe he's probably going to go first. But I went ahead and I deployed my screen of Clan Rats, and I put a Grey Seer here within 12 inches. So if he does give me the turn and wants to go for the double, I'm in Blizzard range where just turn 1 I can try and drop Shalaxi. So the way he deployed, plus with this Grey Seer being in range, is going to pretty much force him to go first, which is what I want, because then that opens up where I could potentially double him. And Slaanesh, they're very frail, but as the game goes on, they get those depravity points, and so then they'll start being -1 to hit, and then they're going to get a 5-up ward. So if you can get a big spike of damage into them early, that's the best way to go. So we just did that. We put our Plague Furnace up front, try and do some mortal wounds if Shalaxi comes in. Heroes all behind, keeping him safe from all the shooting. And then just Screech and Help It, he's going to come in. We're going to try and punch him right back in the mouth. But with all things considered, it was his choice, and he chose to go first. So let's just jump into Slaanesh, top of 1. So to start the turn out, he chose his battle tactic, and I didn't write down which one he chose, so that's just my fault. So we're just going to jump into the hero phase. He tried to cast a Mystic Shield and a couple of other spells that I unbound, but he did get off Refined Senses on Shalaxi, and that's going to give it +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and +1 to save against my heroes. And from there, we'll just jump into movement. First up, the Chariot moves all the way over here. The Blissbarb Seekers move over as well to get on the objective. Shalaxi moves down here outside of 3. Glutos moves up his full move. The Lord of Pain runs over here. Stay next to him, keep everybody in ranges. And then the Blissbarb Archers, they can run and shoot, so they go ahead and run over there behind her. These Blissbarb just walk over, make sure they're in range of everybody. You can see them. And then he takes these Hellstriders and just builds a screen around these Blissbarbs to try and protect them. All right, then we go into the start of the shooting phase, and he just starts blasting away at these Clan Rats. He wants to clear that screen and then charge into my guys. Then also, if he can kill these Clan Rats, it'll leave the Grey Seer open to where Synessa can just point at him and kill him. And so we go into the shooting phase, and he just starts shooting away at these Clan Rats with his Blissbarbs. The Blissbarb Seekers split their attacks into the Clan Rats and the Furnace, but I saved all the damage on the Furnace. He was trying to proc that extra -1 rend, but didn't get it. And so through all the regular shooting, he kills all but 2 Clan Rats, which then made the Grey Seer not in range for Lookout Sir, since it's only 2 models. and so Synessa pointed at him, but I rolled well enough to where she only did 3 mortal wounds instead of 6, so the Grey Seer stayed alive. And there, the clan rats, I had all-out defense to them, I knew that's what he was trying to do, so might as well try to prevent it, and that's what kept these 2 guys alive. And I think just on average, maybe he rolled a little poor on a couple of his shots there. But from there, we go into the charge phase, and first up, Glutos charges in. And then Shalaxi charges in as well. And she made sure to stay outside of 3 of Screech. She didn't want to take that fight yet. So then we go into Monstrous Rampages, and Shalaxi just stomps the Grey Seer and kills him. Then into combat, Shalaxi goes first. She gets to pick a hero and get extra damage on her spear attacks, and so she picks the Furnace. Then she's +1 to hit, +1 to wound from the spell she got off, and +1 to hit, +1 to wound from the Lord of Pain. So she's going to ignore the -1 to hit, -1 to wound on the Furnace, and just be hitting on 2s and 2s. My opponent, he rolls his dice, 2 hits on the first profile, rolls to wound, and rolls 2 1s, no damage. Then rolls for the spear, 2 hits, rolls to wound, and rolls 2 1s again. And so Shalaxi ends up doing 0 damage into the Furnace. And that was doubly a big deal because that was his euphoric killer's target to generate depravity. So this turn now, 0 damage into the Furnace, and no depravity points. That's a really big deal. Then it goes over to my turn, and I go in and I fight with the Furnace. I've got these 2 clan rats, but there's no point in attacking. They're just going to do 0. So the Furnace, at least I can swing into Shalaxi while I'm still at top bracket. So I pile in, and we swing. We hit the mortal wounds from the big bell, and overall we end up doing 8 damage to Shalaxi. That's great. Next up is Glutos. His attack profiles are a 1-inch and 2-inch attack range, so I couldn't get out, but he goes and sends the 1-inch attacks into the clan rats, all the 2-inch attacks into the Furnace. And again, he's getting the +1 to hit, +1 to wound from the Lord of Pain. So he hits into the Furnace and does 8 damage and kills the clan rats. Then that's everything that's in combat, so that's the turn. He controls 1, 2 more. He did score his battle tactic, so 5 points for Slaanesh. So let's jump into Skaven, bottom of 1. All right, so going into my turn, I got to choose a battle tactic. And with all the shooting, I've already lost 1 squad of battle line. All I have left are the clan rats and the PCBs. And so I go ahead and do Lead into the Maelstrom here while I still have battle line units left. So we'll just end up charging Screech over here. Then these clan rats are going to have to charge into those Blissbarb Seekers. The Seekers, the Unleash Hell could be bad, but their melee profile is pretty weak. So we're just going to try and tie them up, make them shoot there in the next turn. So into the hero phase, we try and cast spells. And first up, I go for a Blizzard. I've got 1 Primal Dice, and so I roll it. I get a 12, so it does go off. He's got 1 Primal Dice and rolls like a 13 or 14 and unbinds it. That would have been a really cool one just to put into Glutos, do a big chunk of damage. Then we do our prayers. We heal the Furnace for 3 with a heal prayer. Then next up was Skabbik, and I wanted to befoul the objective, but Glutos, his base was over top of the center, and it has to be visible, so I couldn't. So we just went for a Bless, put it on this squad of clan rats, since we're going to charge them in. We end up triggering a Great Plague, and I've got 2 choices. I can go for the Bubonic Plague, which is 2d6 mortal wounds. And we could do that into Shalaxi to kill her, but she's likely going to die this turn anyways, and I need something to charge Screech into. I could put the 2d6 mortal wounds into Glutos, but on average I'm going to do 7. He heals every turn, he's just going to heal it right back, and it's not a fight that I really want. So my other choice for prayers is the Red Maw Plague. And that one I can pick an enemy hero, the closest one to me, which is Glutos. And then in the combat phase, if I'm not within 3 inches, and he's within 3 inches of one of his own units, he can pile in and fight that unit. And so that's the one we end up going with, and we'll see what we can make happen there. Then the last prayer, we go with the Plague Furnace. We go for Pestilence, and we don't get it off. Then other spells, we go for the Dreaded 13th, and we get it off. We do 6 mortal wounds to the Blissbarbs, which summons in 6 clan rats down here and kills one of these. We get a Death Frenzy off onto the Hell Pit, and then we get a Mystic Shield off, and we put it onto the Furnace just to double down. Then from there, we'll go to movement. So for the clan rats, we move 6. Over here, we move the Hell Pit, and we get like a 9-inch move, which is great. Screech scoots over as well, being outside of 3. This Green Plague Priest, we run over here. This Grey Seer, we run him down here to be within 3 of this new squad of clan rats, but also within 12 of Glutos. Skabbik runs over here with this other Plague Priest, and we bring his little Plague Pack over here just to build a little screen with the run. And the Plague Furnace, we end up retreating it out. That takes us to the end of movement phase. We go and we drop in the drill. And we send in the gutter runners. So the gutter runners come down, and the reason we went here, the Blissbarb here, they're too close to this screen. So I've got a 12-inch shooting attack range. I have to be outside of 9, so I'm going to be able to shoot all of my attacks into the Blissbarb since they're so close. And I decided not to send in the PCBs, just they could come in, and the only real good thing I could hit this turn would be the Hellstriders. And that's just not a good trade. If I kill the Hellstriders, then he gets the turn. My guys are 6-up saves. They're just going to get melted by all the shooting. So we're going to send in just the gutters, try to shoot those Blissbarbs off. Then if I can hit the charge, the gutters could still kill these guys too. Then I'll have a big wide open space for those PCBs to come in later and hit something more impactful. So from there we go into the shooting phase. Screech shoots over here and does a couple damage to Shalaxi. Then the gutter runners shoot and we kill 8 of the Blissbarb. Then we go for the charge phase. We start out with the drill. He's within 12 of these guys. So we roll it, get a 6. So we re-roll it with Screech. We get a 5, so we don't make it in. We try to roll for the gutter runners anyways, and they fail to make the charge. But with that 5-inch, it's going to be good enough to get Help Hit and Screech in. So we get the charges and we send them in. Then on this side for our battle tactic, we do need to charge in these Clan Rats. And with him pulling that one Blissbarb, I'm going to end up bringing the Chariot in as well. But just not that big of a deal. Again, it doesn't do that much damage. So we send in the Clan Rats. So in the charge, like a half-inch away, just trying to stay as far away as we possibly can from everything. So we go to Monstrous Rampages. I end up Titanic dueling with the Help Hit, and then I roar with Screech, and we do get the roar off. He tries to roar me back and fails. Combat phase, I fight with the Help Hit first, and that's because Shalaxi got that spell off where she gets +1 to save against enemy heroes, and the Help Hit is not a hero. And then since she failed the roar, I do the command on the Help Hit to give him +1 to hit and +1 to wound. And so right now, Shalaxi has a built-in -1 to hit. Glutos gives an additional -1 to hit, but I'm +2 to hit with the Titanic Duel and Screech's command. So we're just hitting on our base 3s. The Help Hit, he rolls all of his attacks, and we do drop Shalaxi, which is awesome. Next up is his combat, and he fights with these Blissbarbs and kills a couple Clan Rats, so I pull. Then it goes to my turn, and we got that prayer off, the Red Maw Plague, so Glutos is not within 3 of any enemies, and so I get to control him. He's within 3 over here, so we pile him in, and we send all of our attacks into his general, the Lord of Pain. We roll all the attacks, and boom, we kill him. And so that was just huge. The +1 to hit, +1 to wound from that guy is incredible. And his artifact makes it to where he picks an enemy unit, which was Screech. And if I get within 6 inches of him, it sets my attack characteristic to 1. So it just turns Screech into where he does nothing for the whole game. So getting that move, killing his general, Glutos doing it, like, you take a couple reflective mortal wounds back, but Glutos will end up healing that off, but just a big swing right there. Goes back to him, he piles in the Chariot, kills a couple more Clan Rats. I pull this one right here, and I leave this guy so that he's within 3 inches of these Blissbarbs to keep them tied up, and that way only a few of them will actually be able to pile in. Then I activate the Clan Rats for their fight, and I just fix my coherency right here, and we call that a turn. He auto-passes Bravery on these guys. I auto-pass Bravery on these guys from the Furnace. Get a couple Clan Rats back. Shalaxi, when she blew up this mission, wizards blow up and do a bunch of damage. We rolled the 4 up and didn't get it, so we didn't take a bunch of wounds. So then for scoring, I hold my 1, 2 more. I got my battle tactic because the Clan Rats are still in combat. So 5 points. We're going into a priority roll for 2, and Skaven and I win the roll. And so here we go, we're just going for the double turn. So start of my turn, we got to choose a battle tactic. And this turn I just go for invaders. We did pretty good turn 1, we got the double, so just choose a nice safe one, make sure we're going to score it. I didn't have 2 units in combat to do it easy like flee or bait and trap. So that's what we're going with. Important note, the Red Maw Plague, it lasts all game. So Glutos is there. If I don't go into him, he's going to keep hitting his own guys. So we go to prayers and spells. We get a heal off onto the Furnace. We heal 2. We go for a Pestilence, just try to do a couple mortal wounds here. We do 2 mortal wounds to the Blissbarbs. And then Skabbik just goes for a Bless on the Clan Rats, and we get it. Spell-wise, we go for a Dreaded 13th and don't get it off this turn. We do get a Death Frenzy off on the Help Hit, and then a Mystic Shield, we put it onto Screech. And from there, we'll jump into movement. For invaders, I have to have more people out of my zone than in. So we just start moving around. I run these guys, the little plague pack, over this way. We move the plague priest over, move Skabbik over, and we're getting just barely across the line. These clan rats with the double pile in, I'll be able to move 6. So I end up just leaving them in combat. Again, if I could just keep tying this stuff up, that's an overall benefit for me. For the furnace, we move it up here. These summoned clan rats, we run up behind it. The gutter runners, they move up 7, get outside of 3 of these guys. Gluto, we just run up here onto the objective. And then we've got Screech in the Hell Pit. And it's a situation where I could make a play onto Glutos, but honestly, I just don't think I get there with the damage. Then I'm going to take a bunch of damage back. And I'm thinking right now that I'm going to be able to take enough stuff out where he's going to have a hard time taking these objectives back from me. And so I just stay put, and we're going to play it safe. Just Glutos, since he's not a monster, he only counts as 2 on the objective. So I should be able to kill most of these Blissbarbs. Glutos, if I don't fight him, will go back into his own Blissbarbs. The Chariot's going to be tied up. And so he'll have a tough time on objectives, and I can play safe, not take any damage. So that's what I'm going to end up doing. At the end of the movement phase, we go and bring in the PCBs. And so boom, there are the PCBs. We put them there just on the objective in case I fail the charge. At least I'm going to be bodies on. And we'll go to shooting. I start out with an all-out attack from the gutter runners. We shoot into the Blissbarb squad over there, and we clear the whole squad. So then we'll go into the charge phase. I'd move these guys in the movement phase over a little bit too, just to be outside my zone. But we're going to start out with the Plague Furnace, because I don't want to charge him in anyways. We roll for the charge, and boom, we get a 9 right out the rip, so everybody's making it in. First up, we send in the gutter runners. Then we shoot in the PCBs. And then since we're staying out of Glutos over here, that ends up being it. We go to combat, and I fight with the PCBs first. So let's pile them in. They swing and easily clear out these Hellstriders. And when I piled in those PCBs, I also piled in my clan rats. They went up 3. Goes over to his combat, he fights with the Chariot, kills a few more clan rats. Then over here, since the gutter runners charged, they pile in 3 into these Blissbarb. Gutter runners fight, and we clear out this Blissbarb squad. This turn, he's got the Blissbarb Seekers. They kill a couple more clan rats. Then it goes to my activation. Glutos is out, so we pile him in. He fights into the Blissbarb and kills 3 of them. Then for scoring, I got 1, 2 more, and Battle Tactic for 5 points. Going into Slaanesh, the bottom of 2, his tactic this turn is also going to be Intimidate. And start a hero phase, he goes for a rally on those Blissbarb and gets 2 of them back. He goes for a couple spells that get unbound, and then we'll just jump into movement. He moves these Blissbarb around over here, going to make a play on this objective. Synessa scoots up just to touch both objectives, and then Glutos move down here outside of 3. Shooting, Synessa does 6 mortal wounds to the Hell Pit right off the rip. The Blissbarb shoot into the Skabbik's guys over here and kill all but 1. And then into the charges, Glutos charges the Hell Pit down here, staying outside of 3 of Screech. And the Blissbarbs do make their charge into these clan rats. I go for a roar into Glutos and get it, and then into combat, Glutos fights first and kills the Hell Pit. Generates a bunch of depravity. Then I fight on death and do like 4 damage to him. Goes to my combat, I fight with this little guy first, this little Censer Bear from the Plague Pack, and we do 2 damage to the Blissbarb, and then he piles in and fights back. He kills 4 clan rats, but doesn't kill the little Plague Pack dude. The clan rats fight back, we do 1 more damage to this Blissbarb, and then the Chariot piles in, kills 4 more clan rats. That ends up being all the combats. I auto-pass Bravery from the Furnace and get 2 more clan rats back. And so this turn he does not end up taking the objective back over here, because all the clan rats and the heroes. Then we go to scoring, and I'm just noticing I got the positioning wrong. He put Synessa over here just to be across the line for his battle tactic. And then when I shot these gutter runners into those Blissbarb, I didn't kill the whole squad, there were still 2 left that he ran over onto this objective as well. Because I just remember he did end up controlling 2 objectives at the end of the round, so it was 1 and 2. He got his battle tactic for Intimidate. Slaanesh scores 4 points, and we go into another priority roll. Round 3 prio, we roll it off, and Skaven, we win it. We're taking the turn. So it goes into my turn. I'm choosing Flee for my battle tactic. I'm just going to pull 2 units out, super easy. And we'll jump into the hero phase. We heal a couple more wounds onto this Furnace from a heroic recovery. First up, we go for a Blizzard from the Seer, and we don't get it. We rolled a 1 in the first casting roll, so I'm not going to risk blowing myself up. Then we go for a Dreaded 13th on Screech, and we do get that one off. We put it into Synessa, and we roll the dice, and we do 9 mortal wounds, which kills her. Which summons in some clan rats over here. Then we get a Mystic Shield off on a Screech, and we'll jump into movement. First up, we auto-run these PCBs just to get more bodies on the objective down here. We run the Gutter Runners as well. This Seer, we just pull back this way. We pull the little screen back as well. And we move the Plague Furnace down over here by him. Get within 3 of Nahal for the pluses to pray. Screech, we just move him up like this, building another little screen. And it's just, it takes so much to kill Glutos that I'm just not going to even make a play for it. Like, I could win the game, I think, without having to kill him, just by scoring points on the objectives. So that's what we're going to go for. Just Glutos, whenever he does damage, he can heal. And so you have to kill him in 1 activation, typically, or you're just not going to kill him. And with the -1 to hit and so many wounds, and he Finest Hour this turn, like, I could maybe do it, but then maybe not. So why take the risk? So over here, we just score our tactic. We flee. We just pull everybody out of that combat there. Keep enough bodies to keep the control of the objective. Then we jump the Plague Priest into the Nahal. Pop him out down here. Shooting phase, we shoot into these Bliss Barbs and clear them out. He tried to rally these guys and didn't get them. And just killing them, like, I could try and put some pot shots into the Chariot and not kill it, which isn't going to change anything. Go into Glutos, but he's going to heal. So just kill the Bliss Barb, get rid of the unit in its entirety. It can't come back. Importantly, his grand strategy was the one where you cannot summon. And so if he did try to summon in some extra bodies here, he's going to lose 3 points. So I know just anything I can clear off the board, it's never coming back. That's the play. And then that's it. We don't charge in. That's going to go to scoring. We get 1-2 more. We got our battle tactic for flee, pulling everybody out over here. So 5 points for Skaven. We'll shoot over to Slaanesh. Going into Slaanesh, his tactic this turn is to kill a unit that's contesting an objective with the Euphoric Killer's trait. He chooses this guy over here who's just got 2 wounds. I try to rally, don't get any back. And we jump into the hero phase. He goes for spells, gets a Mystic Shield off on Glutos, and that's about it for impactful stuff. So let's go straight into movement. He sends the Bliss Barbs down here, outside of 3. And I didn't go for the redeploy here, just I have these guys so close that he's going to hit the charge, and like I'm just be throwing a command point away. Then the Chariot comes down as well. Then Glutos moves down here by the Gutter Runners, and he'd been healing this whole time, so he was full health. We go to shooting. The Bliss Barbs shoot into these clan rats and kill almost all of them. Charge phase, Glutos charges into the Gutter Runners. Chariot charges in over here. Hurts the hero a bunch with mortal wounds. And then the Bliss Barb guys come in. He starts out with Glutos and kills all the Gutter Runners. I fight with this guy and whiff. He fights over here and kills the clan rat and the hero. And the Bliss Barb kill this guy as well. That's it. We go to scoring. He ends up only controlling this one objective, but he got his battle tactics with 3 points for the turn. That's just Glutos. He should be a monster, man. Like, he should count as 5, but he only counts as 2, so the PCBs just got him outnumbered, as does Screech. We go into another priority roll, and I get it. So we go into my turn. For tactic, I choose Surround and Destroy. And we go for the drill, this drill, and the purple Seer. We go into spells and prayers. We go for a Dreaded 13th, don't get it off. Mystic Shield ourselves. Heal this Plague Furnace for 1 more wound. And we'll just go straight to move. Screech hops over here outside of 3. Plague Furnace scoots up just to touch this objective. Clan Rats walk up just a little bit behind to stay within 3 to give him the buff. Plague Priest shoots here. Seer goes down here, wholly within 6 outside of my zone. This drill moves up this way. This drill moves over to the knothole. And these guys build a little screen. Then last but not least, the PCBs, we walk them just to get them all on the objective. End of movement, we start zooming guys around. We're sending this drill all the way over here to get by the edge, since he wasn't within 3. And I made sure to stay outside of 9 with Screech so that he couldn't redeploy on top of it. This Plague Priest shoots over here, gets on this objective with this screen, and that's going to give us our Surround and Destroy. So we go to the charge phase, and Screech, he rolls a 3 to make it in. And then I go for the pile, and I can't quite get onto this objective, but we do kill the Chariot. And then scoring-wise, that gives me 1-2 more. I get my battle tactic for 5 points. For him, his battle tactic this turn, he has slim options, so he goes for a Magical Dominance, just going to try and force a spell through. He casts a Mystic Shield and gets it. I throw all my primals at it, try to unbind, but I don't. And then we just go to movement. For movement, the Blissbarbs, they move all the way over here onto this objective. Shoot a bunch into the PCBs and kill 3. Then Glutos charges in, fights, and finishes them off. That's it for the turn. He gets 1, 2, and his battle tactic for getting the magical dominance through, so 4 points. And we go for the final priority roll into 5. I get the priority roll. I end up going for a magical dominance myself with the Grey Seer. Get it off. I just walk Screech over here. We've got 1, 2 more. I'm going to score 5. Once I scored my 5 for the magical dominance plus 1, 2 more, score-wise, he had lost those few points earlier. The only way he could even potentially make it a game was to deny my grand strategy, but he would have to kill 2 of my heroes to do that, and it just wasn't going to happen. And so there's the game. The Rats, we take it down. And so that's how that one shook out today. And just shooting you guys straight, once you've played enough games of Warhammer, like, there is a flow to the game, and sometimes that can be really advantageous to one side. And in this game, like, things just went in my favor. Like, between Shalaxi not doing any damage, me getting the double 1 to 2, and then me winning all the priorities for the rest of the game, just, I put a big enough dent into him with that double turn where really the only avenue to come back was for him to get a double turn back, and it just never came. But on my end, it was really cool getting the Red Maw Plague off. That's one I don't get to do very often, so seeing it do some work was cool. And for the challenge games, I mean, I'm going to take a win any way I can get it, so we'll just chalk this one up for the Rats. Then next week, we got a super shooty Stormcast list coming up with 4 Night Judicators and 6 Long Strikes and that Comet that's a real pain. So make sure you check that one out. And as always, if you need any models, check us out at warpfireminis.com.